Hello, viewers. I'm your host Apur for today's episode, and today we have a very special guest with us in our podcast, and he has a very huge portfolio of experiences. He has worked as a CMO, he has worked as a GM, as well as he's a very strong advocate of startups and businesses. So let me introduce him to you. He's Sir Ritesh Ghosal. He's an alumni of IMB. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you, Apur.
Uh,
You can drop the sir, please. I've not been knighted.
sir,
Yeah,
let
yeah.
me introduce the audience to you. We are the students of NITK. We have a lot of startups from here, as well as the leaders also. But particularly, we have today you on our podcast because the scenario has been changed a lot. The dynamics has been changed of the corporate world. So, if you can give insight to us, it will be very helpful for the audience as well as for me also as a personal level. So, sir, can we start with the first question?
Yes,
Uh,
please.
can you tell us about yourself and the independent consultancy service that you provide?
Okay. I won't say it's an independent consulting service. I work with startups, people who have ideas, who are trying to create something. And if it sort of overlaps with my areas of interest, I, sit down with them, we work together. And typically, either I'm paid for my time or I take a stake in the company. Sometimes it's a little bit of both. Uh, so that's how it works. What I am enjoying really is being on my own after almost 27 years of working with various corporates.
Yes.
It's fun to not have a boss. It's fun to work without hierarchy. It's fun to not have to wear formal shoes and formal attire going into office and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's essentially what I do.
So it was an inspiration that you don't have to follow the hierarchy. So, can you tell us the difference about the entrepreneur and the solopreneur that you follow?
Yeah, sure. So, an entrepreneur is somebody who uh, is trying to build a business.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The intent is to grow through those various steps of a ladder and become a going concern. Okay. Finally, the entrepreneur will be the chairman or the managing director of a company with with numerous employees, structures, board, that entire framework of corporate, right? He's aspiring to create a corporate over a period of time. uh, a solopreneur, to my mind, is a it's like flying solo. Okay. I mean, there are these little biplanes that you fly, or there you can become a commercial pilot and fly a Boeing or an Airbus. So I'm on a solo flight. Okay. So
So the
whatever
whole
I'm
sky
doing,
is
I'm
yours.
doing. I set the route. I decide the destination. I set the route, and I also choose, who I'm flying, who my co-passengers are, so to speak. That's really the difference. There is no aspiration to create a big organization, tomorrow's big corporate or something. That's I think how I would frame the difference.
So as a solopreneur, the whole sky is yours, and you can move in any
Yeah,
directions that you want. So, I'm
you
getting
can go
it.
whichever direction you choose to on a given day.
Yes, sir. Uh, there are certain myths that I want to discuss here right now. See, when we go for the startups, the only thing that people think is that you need a huge chunk of money at the starting, as well as a very strong team. There are
Hmm.
certain misconceptions related to it also, sir.
Hmm.
Can you highlight some of the misconceptions that need to be clear before someone go for the startup?
Uh, don't agree with the first point about money.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In fact, the beauty of what the entire startup ecosystem has created is it has divorced the act of raising capital from the act of coming up with an idea. Okay. uh, that's the beautiful part of what this has created. If somebody has an idea, Okay,
Yes.
if somebody has a game changing idea, and you know, there's a way to even evaluate whether an idea is really worth it or not, right? uh, the way I like to approach it is, what part of a human life are you going to simplify? Okay.
Mm.
You know, going back to my first lesson in microeconomics, uh, work is a bad, leisure is good. Correct. Income is good, the effort required to create that income is a bad. Correct. All humans want less of bad and more of good.
Good.
That's the fundamental of how, you know, people sort through things and make choices in life in every domain, right? So
Yes.
the way to see a startup idea is, which aspect of life does it simplify, or which problem does it solve, which unsolved problem does it solve, or which solved problem does it propose to solve in a better manner, and what is the size of that pie. Okay. uh, so अगर आप देखो, very classic example, you know, आपके all our, you know, at least my Kotler had this case study about Walkman, Sony's Walkman, right? Sony ने Walkman बनाया, uh, and then it fizzled out at over a period of time, right?
Yes.
Because the cassettes went away and music became a digitized file. Uh, iPod बनाया Apple ने, and that changed the fundamentals of the company itself. The iPod led to the iPod Touch, the iPod Touch led to the iPhone, and you know, that Apple also used to make lovely desktops and laptops. उसके बारे में कोई सोचता भी नहीं है. It's an iPhone company today, right?
Yes.
What is the difference between these two? The difference between these two is Sony sold the Walkman as music on the go,
Mm.
right? If you see the way Apple has conceptualized the iPod and then the iPod Touch, there's a lot more of personalization. There's a lot more of, you know, it is you and your space, you and your music, you and uh, your alone time being spent more productively or whatever, right?
Yes, sir.
And the way, if you see, if you take a metro in a place like Delhi, Bangalore, any city today, you will see the first thing a guy does when he's in a public space is he blocks out the noise around by putting in his earphones and turning on
Earphones.
his music, right? So what you are solving for, what you are creating a demand around, is people's need for privacy in a crowded world, not, you know, a music listening experience. Okay, वो
Mm.
तो music का तो बहाना है. In fact, a lot of times people can listen to a podcast also, news also, any damn thing. Yeah, you can. But what you are doing first and foremost is tuning out the noise around you. So the need for privacy is a fundamental need. That is what, you know, the iPhone and the iPod, etc., started serving, which is why it's such a huge idea, which has reshaped the world. Uh, if you look at Amazon, right, it solved for the, it started with books, correct?
Books. Yes.
It solved for the poorly cataloged, poorly arranged, warehouse kind of structure through which, you know, books used to be sold. It created a search for books. It allowed a sampling of books before you figure out whether I want to buy something or not. And from there on, you know, they have solved more and more problems in the area of choice, right? So startup idea वो अच्छा होता है which solves a existing unsolved problem or solves an existing solved problem in a new, better, more elegant, cheaper also sometimes. Okay, so if the idea is there, पैसा तो यार भर भर के मिलता है. Okay, there are enough people with enough capital across the world which is looking at India especially as a market. Okay, while I'm not an expert in the funding dynamics of the startup world, I have not seen a good idea hit the brakes because there is no funding. Okay. Uh, your second question was around the team.
Yes.
Correct. Uh, Actually, I would take it a little beyond that. I would take it to, for a successful startup, the founder or the co-founders need to have very high EQ. EQ, आप समझते हैं, emotional quotient, right?
Emotional question.
See,
Yes.
all startup guys have met a very high IQ. Okay, intelligent to सब होते हैं. I mean, वैसे ही Indians per se are a little, smarter than the rest of the world, I think. Especially when you go through the funneling of 1000 में से एक लड़के को क्लास 10th में फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री मिलेगा, उसमें से भी एक को आईआईटी में एंट्री मिलेगी, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. The people we are dealing with are really the cream of the crop.
Yes.
Okay, the people who are you know coming up and asking for funding even on a Shark Tank, these are the cream of the crop across the country, right? They are the 1% in terms of the IQ. But the same process does not operate on the emotional quotient part.
Yes, sir.
Okay, emotional quotient क्या होता है? Understanding what other people are thinking, what their priorities are, what their needs are,
Yes, sir.
having a sense of empathy for the person on the other side of the table. ये कोई ट्रेनिंग नहीं होती है. ओके, इस पे कोई स्क्रीनिंग भी नहीं होती. ऑल आर एप्टीट्यूड टेस्ट अक्रॉस द एंटायर एजुकेशन सिस्टम. व्हाट आई हैव सीन इज वेरी ऑफन स्टार्टअप्स फेल बिकॉज टीम भाग गई, या को फाउंडर्स में लड़ाई हो गई, या इन्वेस्टर जो बोल रहा था वो ये समझा ही नहीं ठीक से. Okay, they were not able to empathize with the investor's priorities, and therefore the investor walked away. Okay, so it is not so much a team problem. It manifests in the team not being held together. Okay, but the genesis of the problem is a very high IQ. Sometimes actually also builds a preference in the person to work with his IQ rather than his EQ. Okay, people tend to actually think, boss, if I'm intelligent, I should just apply my mind to a problem. I don't need to worry about मेरे साथ कौन चल रहा है, वो कितना खुश है, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, और वो चाहता क्या है. Okay,
Yes.
in my experience, a successful leader, whether it's a startup or the CEO of a corporate, he's successful because he जो भी उसका dominant preference है, हाँ, वो दूसरे वाले को ज्यादा यूज करता है.
Yes.
Okay, so the super intelligent guy who works extra hard to ensure his people are with him, okay, understand what he wants, he in turn understands what they want, etc., etc., is more successful. The super EQ guy who's not the most intelligent or numerically not the most savvy, should, when he recognizes that and builds a team of super intelligent people around him, okay, then he is successful. Okay, अपनी प्रेफरेंसेस को, अपने आप को समझना, and covering for the shortcomings you have in the team you build. Okay, that's really the mantra for success, if you ask me. And even more so in the startup world, because in a big corporate, what happens, there is a corporate HR, there is mentoring system, etc., etc. There are people who come in and help you work through these problems. Startup mein aap hi ho. Okay,
Yes, sir.
you have to navigate all these challenges and issues yourself. Okay, yeah, so team and EQ, very important, very critical. Funding, in my experience, in all the startups I have worked with, all the founders I've talked to, if you have a great idea, getting the funding is not a difficult.
So it is more around the EQ that people lacks.
Yeah, the operating filter, what defines a successful versus a failure as a startup guy, is usually EQ.
EQ. Yes. That's some new things for us. And sir, another thing that I would like to know about is the challenges. Even after starting this business or the startup, the challenges that we face. Suppose we have the fund, we have the team, we have the smart team. Afterwards, still there's a high competition. How you're going to tackle yourself?
See, once you have acquired the team and you have acquired funding, right? Uh, the challenge is the same as in any other business. Okay, whether you are trying to sell the next bottle of Coke, or you're trying to sell your new beverage, let's say a good based soft drink or something.
Yes.
आपको दिक्कत वही आनी है. रिटेलर पूछेगा मैं आज सामान क्यों लूं. Okay, you have to compete for the customers throat, you have to compete for the retailers chilling space, you have to lubricate the entire distribution system and the supply chain system to get the product on. Okay, problem सारे वही हैं. Yeah. Uh, this is not to say it is easy, but what I'm saying is this is as difficult as it was 25 years ago. When I first started trying to sell beverages, or 25 years ago, I was actually involved with Horlicks, which is selling health food drinks. But challenge हमेशा वही रहता है. The only thing is 25 years ago, if I had an idea for something like a paper board, I would have struggled to come up with the money to put it on the shelf. Right? Today, that is what the startup ecosystem with its access to funding, with of course reasonable oversight, has created.
Sir, you have this huge experience in your portfolio. Can you share some amazing projects that you have worked upon?
Sorry, Apu, I lost you in the middle. What did you
Uh,
say after experience?
can you share some amazing experience that you had as a solopreneur with us? Some of your best experience as a solopreneur.
So, what I have been trying to do on my journey as a solopreneur is really pick up the unfinished agendas of my corporate life. So, in my life, I have worked with beverages. When
Yes,
I
sir.
was a cook. I have worked with health and nutrition in the space of health food drinks, etc. I worked in telecom. And actually, my most interesting stint was in market research, back in IMRB. Okay. Uh, in all of these, जैसे कहते हैं ना startup idea वगैरह, the problem that is not being solved well. Okay. So in each of these, there is that, problem which is not being solved well currently. That is, on my mind. And these are the kind of things I'm really focusing on in my, journey as a solopreneur. So while I started out with, 12, 13 different ideas that I was involved with, currently I'm involved with only three. And each of them is, sort of filling one of these, missing gaps. So in the consumer insight space, in the market research space, there is a problem on the client side where people feel, by the time you get the information and the recommendation and the insights, etc., it's already too late. Because आपको research turn on करने में 4, 6, 8 हफ्ते लग जाते हैं.
Yes, sir.
By which time the world has moved on, competitor, realities have changed. शायद in the startup world कोई और पैसे ले गया, तुम्हारे लिए बचे नहीं है. All those things, in 6-8 weeks is a long time to take. Okay, so that is one problem. From the research industry problem, there's the issue of from the research industry side, there's the issue of very high attrition. Okay, research does not pay well, therefore people leave very quickly. 2-3 साल के beyond वो रुकता नहीं है. And because you don't have experienced resources, therefore you're not able to charge the kind of rates a consultant charges for your advice. Okay, so I'm solving that problem with a startup by the name of GRPS Labs, where we are applying tools of automation to accelerate this entire piece of delivering insights. So research data collection happens online through panels. Analytics happens through machine learning and AI. Report generation is also happening through AI, and therefore the entire 6-8 week cycle is getting reduced to a couple of days. Okay. Uh, Also, if you're able to turn things around faster, time is money. Therefore, you should be able to attract talent also to sit with you at the table. This is actually the one idea which I'm most excited about, because like I said, it's solving a problem on the client side. It is solving a problem on the the workforce side or the agency side as well.
Yes, that's amazing. As you have talked about the AI, you have opened a Pandora box. Can I have a question, sir? What do you
Yeah,
think
sure.
that future holds for AI? We have seen that we have so many websites regarding AI, the chat GPT we have now, and all the things. What do you think that they are going to help for the startups in the future?
See, uh, I mean, you're talking to a person who, when he started his career, communication was via telex and fax. Okay,
Right.
fax तो फिर भी शायद पता हो, telex क्या होता है आपको जाके गूगल करना पड़ेगा. Okay, uh, So I have seen the world change. Okay.
Yes, sir.
When I started working, सबके टेबल पे डेस्कटॉप भी नहीं होता था. Okay. Today, the definition of working is when you switch on your, when you log in and are online, correct?
Yes, sir.
Uh, so I have seen, Blackberries come into your life. Blackberries, become redundant, and office hours have become redundant. Going to office has become redundant because you're working from home. So the technology has reshaped the way people are productive. Uh, every 5 years for the last
Yes,
25 years. Okay. But one thing that it has not done is replace the professional, replace the intellect. Okay. Uh, to my mind, artificial intelligence bhi jo hai, it is not in any shape uh, tuned to replacing human intelligence. Okay. Uh, it is applying the tools of machine learning, okay, to uh, arrive at a heuristic solution to what might be the answers. Okay. So one of the most popular ways, जैसे ये आपका जो भी चैट जीपीटी या जो भी है, वो भी मैंने देखा है. हाँ, it keeps asking you for feedback,
yes, sir.
right? वो क्या पूछता है, जवाब सही था कि नहीं था, तो बताओ जवाब क्या था. So human intelligence is the override button, and human intelligence is what is training and
Making
getting
them
the
learn.
AI to right. So I think I mean every step we take forward in tech is wonderful. Okay. I think it has humongous applications which are even now being just thought of. Definitely customer service is one of them, because
Yes, sir.
if you have realized Amazon से सामान खरीदना बड़ा आसान है. Amazon
Yes, sir.
Flipkart से सामान खरीदना बहुत आसान है. रिटर्न करना बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है. Okay. Uh, Same thing with the Swiggy's and Zomatos of the world.
Yes, sir.
The customer care part, when you have put a chatbot, is very difficult because you don't have a warm body at the other end. Okay. But जो warm body होता भी है, like in Chroma, what was the customer care center doing? There is a set of situations and scenarios to which you respond. Okay. So it's a very limited domain in which you are applying your human intelligence. My suspicion is a lot of these kind of roles will get taken over by AIs very easily. Okay. Another thing like this whether it is market research or medical transcription, or maybe even doing a knowledge search on a particular piece. जैसे आपके मतलब students do a lot of stuff in that area, right? Currently, what you have to do is you go through Google, or Wikipedia, and etc. You identify sources, you scan the content, you then look at the credibility of the provider of the content, etc. Again, these are heuristics, right? AI is very good at learning heuristics and improving on them. Okay. So exactly the same thing as जो call center में customer के center में लड़की कर रही है. हाँ, within a narrow domain you're looking for solutions and answers applies to these places as well. So these are all places where I think AI will play a huge role, but it is not a replacement for human ingenuity or human judgment. So one of the very classic problems that people talk about in the domain of AI is if there is a driverless car, okay, और एक बच्चा क्रॉस कर रहा है रोड एंड ब्रेक लगाओगे तो पीछे वाली गाड़ी आपको ठोकेगी, what will the driverless car do, right? So these are the places where human judgment play a lot of role, which cannot be replaced by a machine. It's not a rule. जहां पे रूल नहीं लगा सकते वहां पे AI काम नहीं कर सकता.
It's more about our judgments and creativity when we talk about AI. So, I was going through the profile. I found that you have a art background. I think it's like how helpful it is because most of the startups is been backed by the engineer backgrounds. Do you think it is
बहुत अच्छा
helping?
सवाल पूछा है. Let me answer it straight away.
Yes, sir.
देखो, slight nuance. I'm not an arts background. I'm an economics background.
Yeah.
Okay. Economics कई
Parties.
जगह में as a science पढ़ाया जाता है, कई जगह as an arts पढ़ाया जाता है. But you know, the beauty about economics as a subject is it's the first subject I came across, and I took it at my undergrad level. School में मेरे पास science था. Okay. It's the first subject I took at where 1+1 is not equal to necessarily 2. एक प्रॉब्लम आता है, प्रॉब्लम को अप्रोच करने के तीन तरीके हो सकते हैं. ओके. So, economics, when you are given a problem, there are three approaches to the problem, and the three approaches will typically give you the same answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But in each of those answers, फिर भी होगा, it depends. Okay. So, you know, navigating the world of uncertainties, playing with decisions in a context influenced world. Okay. Science नहीं सिखा पाता है. Going back to the, you know, the IQ versus EQ thing, the entire domain of social sciences,
Yes, sir.
which is sociology, psychology, economics,
No.
they train the person to work with people as people. Okay. And you know, they help you learn to lean on the EQ side of your brain. Okay. Versus, you know, science, if the person is not fundamentally strong on EQ, the person is being trained progressively to rely more and more on his intellect to solve problems. Okay. And business, you know, the only way to go up in business is to work with your EQ side. Because आपको लोग अपने साथ लेके चलने हैं, आपको अपना आइडिया लोगों को समझाना है, आपको लोगों से इन्वेस्टमेंट लेना है. आपने जिससे इन्वेस्टमेंट लिया है उसको फिर 6 महीने बाद जाके बताना है कि बहुत सब ठीक है, वेट करो. ओके. Building trust, building empathy, working with people is what drives business. And that's not the training a science student receives. He may inherently be good at it. Okay. But training कहीं और लेके जाती है उसको.
And that's how art's playing a role. So,
Yeah, I would say economics, not arts.
I'm sorry, economics. Also, I'm also a same background student, so I thought we can share the same thoughts.
Yeah.
All the things you work upon and all the things you deal with each and every day, how you manage this balance in your personal life and professional life? Because as a young generation, we invest a lot of time with this, whatever we like. Eventually, we could not maintain the balance. I think if you can highlight on this, it will be very helpful.
See, I think number one, you know, I've historically not been very good at maintaining balance. Okay. There were jobs where, you know, I used to work till 2 in the morning. Okay. Just because, you know, you feel there is a time in life when work has to come first. Okay. But as I've grown older, you know, I have learned to keep work in perspective. Okay. See, people tend to get carried away, and I was one of them. People tend to get carried away by defining their visiting card as who they are. Okay. People tend to believe, you know, my visiting card is my identity. Okay. This company, this sector, this designation, this function, actually ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. Okay. You are who you are, and how you make a living is just a very small part of it. You know, going back to the same, you know, economic good and economic bad, the job and the career can lead to several goods in life. Okay. But inherently it is not a good. Okay. And maybe, you know, that would be my message to, you know, all the young kids who are still in college, or, you know, just starting their journey as a startup or whatever. Don't make the mistake of thinking the visiting card defines who you are. You know, you are who you are. The visiting card is a small part of your overall personality.
So we should not carry away with our visiting cards. That's what you're trying to say, I guess.
Yep.
There are many insights that you have given, sir. Like team is supreme, and as you want to grow, you should work in your EQ rather than IQ, as well as the AI cannot take over the humans, which is very important aspect that I noticed, and also work with your EQ time to time. With this, sir, I think we have a lot of good conversation. We have you actually, it was very insightful for us. You shared so much of experience and ideas with us. Uh, I think we can just wrap up now, sir, because we don't have much of time now. And
Great.
these insights were very helpful, and it will be very helpful for the upcoming startups as well as entrepreneurs. Any last
Thank
message
you.
that you
Thank
want to
you.
share, sir, to the entrepreneurs?
No, my last message would still be the same. Listen to the EQ side of your brain.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Train yourself. वो बोलते हैं ना antenna ऊपर रखना सीखो. Train yourself to listen beyond what people are saying to what they are leaving unsaid, and that's probably where you will become a better, entrepreneur. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Poof. Lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
Same mutual feels. Thank you, sir.
Bye.